Hello, everybody. Welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Dave. That's Scott. And we are now going to talk about the Towering Inferno, 1974 classic disaster movie.
Absolutely.
It had been, I was just a kid when I saw this last. Probably like Monday night at the movies or Friday night at the movies, and CBS had the first release after they were out of the theater, a year after they were out of the theater kind of thing. So I probably saw it in 75, 76-ish.
Yeah, I probably saw it on the TV, late 70s,
Yeah.
early 80s, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I remember watching it. This, for our listeners, if you want to go check it out, this is a funny one because it's not available for rent anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere unless you purchase it. It's the first time I've run across a movie that I couldn't rent or wasn't part of a subscription. So where did you find yours?
I looked on Tubi at first. I couldn't find it, and I was almost giving up hope. I was like, I'm going to have to call Scott because I do not want to buy a movie just that I don't know whether I'm going to like or not. And my wife was going to the library, our local library, and I said, well, I know they have DVDs, movies. Go ahead and check for me and see if they've got it. And sure enough, they did.
That's great.
And my local library was the Southwest Branch Library of Pensacola and down Beach Highway. Which
okay.
Nice.
I didn't know there was a library over there. I was just thinking
they
the one
got
downtown.
libraries all over this county. It's amazing.
People read in this town?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little branches, and I think there's more than that. And that's just I opened it up and there's even more.
I'm impressed.
Locations, but that was the Southwest Library branch, and it was pretty cool. It's right near the bay. Nice little bay over there. Right across the street from one of the state parks. I've gone there a couple of times. The state park's really nice. I know it has nothing to do with the movie, but where we live in Florida, when you can get out in nature and walk around,
and it's triple digits and you melt.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
I got to go running.
Awesome.
Speaking of triple digits and
swamp ass
today. Swamp ass as soon as you walk out the door. Talking about walking, I was walking the dogs yesterday, and Gracie, who is the most timid of my two dogs, Daisy bounces and runs and barks and wants to fight everything. And I'm paying attention to Daisy, I'm trying to keep her from eating a lizard because she loves lizards. They make her sick, but she tries to eat them.
Oh, yes.
Meanwhile, I hear Gracie do a little, not a yelp, but like she barked, like getting ready to bark at something. I turn around, there's a big fucking snake, like rearing up, like it's gonna strike. And I grabbed Gracie and went back, let's back. And I couldn't get a look at it, so I don't know whether it was a moccasin or whether it was just a black snake. I'm assuming it was a black snake because moccasins are very aggressive. Yeah. So it didn't chase her, it didn't look at her. As soon as she stepped back, it just went right to the water.
Yeah, probably just a rat snake.
So I'm thinking it was a rat snake. I personally like having rat snakes around the house because they do exactly what you think they do. They eat rats, rice? No, mice and rats.
Well, they may have some with rice. It pairs really well with a red wine and rice and maybe some scallions.
A little what is that? Contact?
Chianti.
Chianti, that's it. Chianti. But for the movie,
I can't do that.
I want to know your take. How did you wound up buying yours?
I bought it off Apple since I have a library with Apple, and it allows me to watch it wherever, whenever, and on my phone. So when I saw this movie is damn near 3 hours, it's like I got to get a head start on this. You and I both go to work really fucking early. I'm up at 3:30 every morning. So it's like, I got to start this early. So I started at lunch, got about 40 minutes out of the way, and then watched the rest when I got home. This is a good one. Honestly, that is my only complaint. I actually think this could be a shorter movie. This could go all the way down to 2 hours, possibly an hour and a half, and still have the impact that it has. I do believe it fell in. Now, I will criticize this movie, but I absolutely love this movie. I do think it fell into the trap of let's get all the famous people we can. It's like, during the 70s, we had so many of these shows. You had the stars came on for competition, and you'd have like the Stars Olympics.
Circus of the Network Stars.
Battle of the Network Stars. That
Battle
was it.
of the Network Stars.
Circus
of the Network Stars.
We had that. So the movies were doing the same thing. And as we just watched Airport did 4 of those, and they just packed as many people as they could in.
I'm going to go. Let me go through the list.
Go through that. Let's hear it.
This list is fucking amazing, folks.
It is.
If you're a fan of old 70s movies or that era, just listen to the names. It's absolutely Steve McQueen as Chief O'Halloran, Paul Newman as Doug Roberts, the architect. William Holden is great in this as the guy who owns the company who built the tower. And then you have Faye Dunaway, Fred Astaire, Susan Blakely, Richard Chamberlain. I forgot Richard Chamberlain was in this.
Yeah.
Jennifer Jones, O.J. Simpson, Robert Vaughn, Robert Wagner.
Yeah.
Susan Flannery. The name and her look is very familiar. I couldn't tell you any other movies she's in, but she's one of those faces that when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, I know who that is. I just don't know where I know her from. Jack Collins was a big character actor. Gregory Sierra. Chano from Barney Miller.
Yes. I was like, we were trying to figure out who is he?
He was also in Sanford and Son. He was the name
as
Sanford and Son.
That's what Janine said. She said, "Oh my God, is that Julio?"
Julio, exactly. And that guy, he should have been such a bigger actor. I mean, everything I've ever seen him in, he can play funny or he can play dead serious, like I'm going to cut your head off type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him in a lot of stuff. Ernie Orsatti was I believe he was a stuntman. He was one of the firemen in the elevator, I believe is the guy that he was. And there's a good story with him. Ross Elliott, Ulan Sewell. I mean, Mike Cat caught this one. I was looking at the little boy trying to figure out who the hell he was. Mike Lookinland was the little boy. That's Peter Brady. It's the kid.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I'm looking at him like, man, that kid looks really familiar.
Oh, yes, he did.
Here's another big name that I totally forgot. Dabney Coleman.
Now, where was he?
Police chiefs. He was one of the police chiefs that was talking to not Steve McQueen. Yeah, it was Steve McQueen. That had to go up when he's telling Steve McQueen, we got a plan to put out the fire, but we got to blow up the water tanks. And Steve McQueen's looking at him like, what? You're going to do what?
Yeah, he was like, I just want to, I got to get this in. Steve McQueen is basically the fire chief who is going to put this out. He's already got an axe to grind against the main architect because people are building these buildings. They're not safe. They can only do so much. He's a firefighter. He sees this. He's tired of
he sees the problem with the building.
Yes, he sees, the unnecessary loss of life, all of that. And he has gone out of his way to save so many fucking people. The stunts in this movie, the way they do these rescues is insane. And Steve McQueen is doing all of this. And then at the very end, it's just, hey, we've got one more thing. We need you to go on a suicide mission with some C4. And he just he pauses and you can read everything in his face. And it's all right, fuck it. I need some help.
Such a good actor. Such a good freaking actor. And they're like, there's only 2 guys in the state that can do it. It's so and so and you. And so and so just got sent to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's like, son of a bitch.
I will say that I was after watching this, and if it's been done, let me know. I haven't even looked. Shame on me. But man, Steve McQueen and Paul Newman should have done more movies together.
I think this is the only movie they ever did together.
They were great together. I could see them in almost anything. I mean, both of them phenomenal actors in this, and it's just like, wow.
See, this is the Steve McQueen I grew up with. I didn't know the Steve McQueen from The Blob.
You know what? He was a 30-something 17-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he was 29 in that. Yeah.
The mayor's wife, her real name is Sheila Allen. She at the time was Irwin Allen, the producer, the guy who put this movie together, his girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
So that lady that's, with the blonde and she's with the mayor, that's Irwin Allen's girlfriend. And he was like, I'm going to put my girlfriend in my movie. Let's go.
Why not?
And it was just very funny because she talks about Irwin Allen, just all the people that they came out and all the shit that they did. If folks you watch, if you get the 2-disc set or if you buy it, see if you can get the specials because the interviews and the little featurettes that they do are well worth it. They're just so entertaining to watch. And they talk, Richard Chamberlain talked a little bit about the two main actors, Steve and Paul Newman. And I had always heard that they didn't get along on set. I had always heard the stories that they didn't like each other.
Right.
Every single one of these actors were like, no, these guys were like little kids. They got along great. And then you see outtakes and you're like, well, let me see the outtakes. If there's outtakes of these guys, being grumpy, it'll show. It'll be obvious. The outtakes, every outtake was those two laughing and pushing each other and just like playing up the bit part like, they're going to hog the camera. There was one little snippet and I wish it was longer, but I think it's Steve McQueen. Like the elevator doors open and Steve McQueen, like to hog the camera, steps in front of Paul Newman. Like he just steps in front of him like he's the star. Like and you can tell they're just goofing around because Paul Newman just starts laughing. And Steve McQueen turns around and starts laughing, and then he steps back in his spot, and the doors close. But it's really quick, and I was like, man, I wish there would have been more sound to that because that was you want to know what they're saying to each other. It's just funny.
Yeah.
This was based on 2 movies or 2 books.
Yes, I did see that at the beginning. That it was 2 books.
They talked a little bit about it. Irwin Allen got the rights or he was trying to get the rights to The Tower, a book that he had read, and he was like, this would make a great movie. Found out that 20th Century Fox, I think, had the rights to it. So he's like, son of a bitch. They're not going to beat me to the punch. He finds another book that hadn't been published yet called The Glass Tower. That was basically a lot like the Tower. It was a Glass Tower? Yeah.
They even referenced the building as the Glass Tower.
Yeah, it was called the Glass Inferno is what it was called. Yeah. And he bought the rights to that book before it was ever published. And then it got published and he's trying to put this movie together and he takes it to whoever. And they're like, well, we already got a movie. And he's already got storyboards and shit written. He's like, yeah, but I can do this for you. And they're like, oh crap. Do you think we can mix these? He's like, absolutely. And he goes and gets his writer pal that was doing the Naked City series and Route 66, and the guy's name was Silifant. I can't remember his first name. I'm sorry, but his last name was Silifant. He was a very prolific writer at the time. But it's just funny that he took 2 books that were very similar, mixed them together. And instead of calling it the Glass Inferno or the Tower, he called it the Towering Inferno. And I was like, just perfect. I just didn't care. He wanted all the action in the world. They hired extra firemen, like an extra 1,500 firemen just for this movie. Wow. Not just for extras, but there was actual fire on the set. So they had so many firemen that a couple of the actors and actresses were like, we basically had our own firemen near us. So if anything happened, they would just put us out right away. Well, they just start spraying us.
since you watched the specials, that's one of the things that really caught my attention in here is there's real fire. Yeah. And it's very obvious. They used a lot of real effects when they could, and it works really well. It's pretty freaky.
Yeah, they talked to the stuntmen. There was a stuntman and a stuntwoman that were talking about the stunts. And the funny thing is, the one blonde-haired lady that winds up catching on fire and jumping out the window, Robert Wagner, the woman that Robert Wagner's having an affair with. And folks, if I hadn't already said it, we are spoilers all over the place in this movie. We're going to talk it to death, and we will probably tell you everything you want to know about it. In case You haven't watched this before.
The cat lives.
The cat, yeah, yeah, that's the only thing that fucking lives. Yeah, save the cat.
All I cared about.
Yeah. But where was I? Oh, they were talking about the stunts. And Irwin Allen, for as dangerous as most of his movies look, because everything is in camera. The fire is real. The water is real. All these stunts are in camera. They're people in suits on fire, which is probably
There's a
one of the most
lot of people on
dangerous,
fire in this.
probably one of the most dangerous stunts you can do. And back then it was fairly new to do. It was a very new stunt from one of the stunt ladies was talking about
Oh
it
shit.
and said that it was not done all that much up to this point. And she's like, and at this point, we got it all over the place. We got people catching on fire left and right. So they were really, really super cautious. And he called in not the police chief, the fire chief of the county and had him sit and talk and was like, how do we do this? How do we do that? I want it to be this. And if this guy said no, Irwin Allen would not argue. He'd just be like, okay, what can we do to make it look like that then? And then he would go over and say, this is what you can do safely. This is what you should do. This is how the people have to act. This is the distance they have to be from. I mean, in Irwin Allen, for everybody always used to make fun of him and say, oh, this guy he's crazy. He would just destroy everything. They started out with 69 visual sets. 69 sets. All but 2 were burned down by the time they got to the final shot.
Yeah, I believe it because there's so many areas where we've got action going on, and either somebody's on fire or the walls are on fire, the ceiling, the floor. And let me tell you, there's so much polyester in there. People are going up like candles. The shag
you ain't
carpet
surviving
everywhere.
That.
The 70s is not fire safe at all. Just saying.
Oh my God. Even Steve McQueen and Paul Newman were both wearing freaking polyesters.
Yeah.
Paul Newman had the polyester leisure suit on. And it's funny because the old lady looks over at me and goes, is he wearing a leisure suit? I looked over at her and said, yeah, but he makes it look good.
He did. He did. I saw this. Like, look at that.
They can make a leisure suit look good.
Like, you know what? Who doesn't want Paul Newman's job? You come in, you find out there's somebody waiting in your office, and he has a bedroom in his office. This motherfucker was smooth. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, speaking of that, in the scene, I always thought of Faye Dunaway as a broad, a dame, a woman that was just, she knew her sex appeal and she just wore it on her shoulder. They said in this movie she was like not like that at all.
Really?
The scene where her and Paul Newman had to get into bed. She's like the little cover up scene where she's getting out of bed. Yeah. She was really doing that. She was just like she was not comfortable with that at that point. And Paul Newman would just strip down to his shorts, man. He'd have 50 guys, Teamsters, strip down to his underwear, get into bed, and he's just laying there waiting for her to do the scene. And at one point, he was trying to get her to relax, and he just whips the blankets off. And he's wearing cowboy boots and spurs. And he's like kinking them together. He's like, is this kinky enough for you, Faye? And she just started laughing. The whole crew just broke down. And it was like after that, she started like, oh, okay, this is, looking at it like, okay, this is just a job. This is just a job. Yeah, this is what I got to do.
The takes they used, their chemistry was great. I mean, it just worked so well. And I can say that about everybody in this movie. Was it Fred Astaire? Was he the con man?
He was the con man. Con man.
I love that little side story of him, and he's going to con this lady, and then they fall for each other. And man, my heart broke when she died.
You saw that one on the wall though. That killed, because I was like, oh no, because I had watched some scenes and I was like, oh fuck, she's the lady in the white dress.
Yeah.
Fuck. And when she gets on that elevator, I'm looking for another lady in a white dress. I'm like,
yes.
Fuck, there's not another lady in a white dress in this elevator.
But he gets the cat at the end.
Yeah, he gets the cat. But speaking of him, Fred Astaire, one of the actors was saying that every time he came in, he was very dapper, very well dressed, always a nice tie, $1,000 shoes, like the epitome of what you would think Fred Astaire would be
Right.
when he walked on set. And when they called break, he didn't go with all the stars and hang out with them. He would go hang out with the extras, and he would go hang out with the Teamsters and the cameramen and the crew, and they would just, BS, and he was perfectly happy just hanging out with those guys. And they were like, it was unreal because you would think that he'd be like, oh no, 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 I
Oh,
don't.
that's when I
Again,
hear stuff like that, I love hearing that because
mm-hmm.
I've been on multiple movie sets
Yeah,
as an extra
mm-hmm.
in the background and what have you. And it rarely happens. And when somebody who is on an upper level takes
Yeah,
time to even just say hi or talk to you like you're a normal person and you're right there, it's so cool. It's like somebody was telling me they were on a movie with Ice Cube. I think it was one of the
oh shit,
barbershop
really?
movies, and then Cube would go eat with them.
Yeah, how
And they're
cool is
like,
that?
"What? What
How
the hell?"
cool
I
is
mean,
that?
that's really cool.
Here's another story that was in the extras, and that most of my notes are going to be about the extras. The stuff we're going to talk about is just about the movie. But William Holden, they basically built like a little town for all the stars. There's like 104 people in this
Yeah,
movie. I don't know
that's a
how
lot.
many dressing rooms they built, but it was like a little town basically, is how they had
Hmm.
it set up. And when William Holden would be sitting there, and he was across from Vaughn, Robert Vaughn, and Robert Vaughn was saying that people would bring their friends in. We're on set. Why don't you come down? We'll show you around. And if William Holden was there and he saw somebody like have a friend on set, he'd go over and talk to him. He'd like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he'd be talking to the star or whoever the actor was, and he would stand there and wait to be introduced. And then he would start talking to the person, and they were like, "This guy was like the epitome of what you wanted to see in an actor and a guy."
Mm,
I mean, he was huge at that time.
yeah,
I mean, he was huge from the late 50s, right? 50s,
yeah.
mid 50s till the 70s when he finally passed away. And they said he would just come out and start talking to people. "Hey, how you doing?" He'd like take them around, show them stuff, like take them on tour of
See, that's cool. That's
shit.
cool.
And I'm like, I would have never dreamed that from William Holden.
Yeah.
I've always heard that he was just a party animal, and he had a watcher. He had a guy who would make sure he got the set
Well,
okay.
and that's one of the things I've noticed, and I know when you go to a convention and you meet people, you're paying to meet them, and of course they're going to be nice, but they're not
Right,
always. But one of the things I get from anybody I talk to of any stature in Hollywood, they've all been incredibly genuine and give off such a vibe that I've never been talked down to, looked down
right,
upon.
right.
Everybody's been really cool. And it's just, like I said, I've told you this story, but, my wife and I talked to John Delancey for a good 40 minutes
Oh yeah,
at
how
a
great is
convention.
that?
Dude, we didn't even talk Star Trek. He was talking about bronies and My Little Pony and stuff. And it's like, it was amazing to spend time with such a cool actor.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, he just wanted to talk about My Little Pony. It's like, fuck yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
I'll talk
Awesome.
about My Little Pony.
Yeah. I've never seen it, but
Yeah,
go on. Because he
yeah.
did a documentary on, bronies.
Oh, he's the guy who did the voiceover?
No, he did a documentary about, the subculture of
Yeah. I
grown
think I
men
know
who
which one
like
it
My
is.
Little Pony. Yeah.
I think I know which one it is.
Yeah.
I've actually heard it's supposed to be really good. And it's
Yeah.
like
So
you'd think these people were really strange, and then you talk to them, and they're like, "No,
that's
they're not strange. They're just like
That's what he was talking about.
they just try and find like a center spot that there's nothing bad. There's nothing bad about My Little Pony. It's a
Well,
great little place to be, and that's where I'm at."
as he said, he interviewed a lot of military people,
Yeah,
and
we
it
heard.
helped them with their PTSD and everything, and to be able to just center on something good. And I thought that
Yeah,
was really cool. But
yeah,
yeah, I think that's awesome to hear about William Holden. It's like, oh my God!
right,
But what I see when I see these people, they're real. They're
right,
not that
right.
many. I'm sure there are some stuck up ones, and I'm
Oh
sure some
yeah,
people who think they're better than everybody else. But I don't
you
want
heard
anything
some
to do with them.
stories.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Craig.
But yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I wasn't going anywhere with it other than just I dig this movie. But hearing that, that's what I was saying earlier when I thought you could knock this movie down to 2 hours to an hour and a half, is because they got the whole battle of the network stars in here. We've got everybody, and we've got all these B stories, which is cool. And it lends itself to, if we're watching and this may have been how they did it in the 70s. This might have been a 2-night movie event where they'd show first half and then the second half and get everybody together in front of the TV to watch this. But it's long. It's long, but I just think there's too many B stories. Your main characters are Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, and that inner circle right there is enough to propel this whole movie through everything. But I do get why the B stories are there. You're wanting to feel a little bit of sympathy or empathy for some of these people, because honestly, seeing that woman fall, if I hadn't seen the other scenes, it wouldn't have worked. So I kind of backtrack a little bit on this because I see why. I'm getting old. 3-hour movies are hard, man. I just sat down and watched a 2.5-hour episode of Stranger Things on Saturday, but it went by like this. And it's like, okay, I can't really complain about a 2-hour and 44-minute movie when I just watched a single episode that was 2.5 hours of a TV show. And go figure.
This is a good movie, and it's well written. I mean, it didn't seem long, other than whenever I looked at my clock and I was like, "Oh shit, I got
to get up at 3 in the morning."
I was up late last night watching that, so I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, but I got enough. Steve McQueen, the stunt people talked about him, and I had heard this about him before. He liked to do as many stunts as he could possibly do his own. And there was like 1 or 2 where he's like, "No, I can do it." And they're like, "No, you can't." And I guess he went and did one of them. And the other one, finally, somebody just put their fist down and said, "No, this is too dangerous. You will shut down production if you get hurt. You're not going to do it." So it was like one of those, but he liked to do a lot of his own stunts. So I
get it.
He was doing his own thing. The elevator, where the fireman, he's holding onto the young fireman.
Dude. That was intense.
Yeah, right? How would you like to be that guy hanging upside down?
And I just wanted to say, will you stop letting go? Quit moving your damn hand. He just, I
didn't understand why people, after they got hooked, the people in the elevator just didn't grab them.
I know, right?
That window's gone. Just go out there and grab them. I got him. You can let him go.
Pull him back in. I was expecting that, but it gave a lot of tension. But it's like, all right, dude, will you grab?
That scene, though, I guess, is, from the way it looks, is the scene that stuntman, that fireman, was talking about when Steve McQueen. That was supposed to be a body double for Steve McQueen. He came in the next day and he asked the guy, "Well, how did the shoot go? Does it look good?" And the guy's like, "It's okay. They got it in the can, but I think it could have been better." He goes, "Oh, okay." He makes a phone call. He makes all the studio heads, everybody who has anything to do with this movie, come to an office. Steve McQueen, biggest actor in Hollywood at the time, next to the guy that's starring with him, Paul Newman.
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Well, wait, basically, what are we here for?" And he says, "Okay, this scene's not working." And they're like, "Who? What? You haven't even seen it. Who told you this?" "Well, someone told me the scene's not working and we need to redo it." He says, "We need to redo it." And the guy didn't actually say that. He just said, and everybody's like, "Who the hell is this? Who the hell is he talking about? You a stuntman? Are you telling me a stuntman? We're going to shoot." He's like, "Yeah, we're going to reshoot it." They went and reshot it, and that's the scene you got. And the guy's like, "Yeah, it was a lot better when he's up on there and doing all his own stunts and hanging from the helicopter shit." Because that's the real shot. That's really him hanging from the helicopter when they're
damn
that big Mac. So, it worked better. They got the shot then. And that's the scene we used.
And that's cool. Because that was obvious. You could see that they had already set the drop pad down for somebody to fall on. That was a pretty intense scene. When they had the chair. For our listeners, there's a scene where they're trying to get people out, trying to rescue people out, and the only thing they can do is run a line between 2 skyscrapers and put people in a chair. And this is absolutely insane. And it's like, my God, I wouldn't want to be there. But you know what? I did not even cry when that asshole jumped on, and
you?
fell.
Yeah, why would you? Chamberlain, bye. You're a jerk.
Yeah. He was a jerk. He was a real fucking jerk. But here, let me just back up. The fire starts right away in this movie.
I was going to give them a little backstory so everybody knows why we hate Richard Chamberlain in this movie.
So the fire starts, and what you find out is Paul Newman is an architect. He's built this movie. He built this tower, and it's supposed to be like one of the most technological advanced, safest thing. They even have a control room with lots of flashing lights that have no labels.
Yeah. And they kept pushing that button. That's funny because I made a statement to that the other day. I don't know. I keep pushing these buttons and the lights are flashing. I don't know.
They're just flashing. I don't know.
So what these lights are for.
It's supposed to be safe, but what we find out, and nothing has changed in this world.
No, not in the real world.
The building owner's son-in-law got the contract to do the construction, and he cut massive corners, especially on the electrical systems.
Yeah.
Which, if they would have done them per plan, the building really would have been that safe. So there's a lot being said here with Steve McQueen's character and just the whole.
Yeah.
You know, I can't save anybody above the 7th floor. It's like, but it was all done to human greed, and to save a penny, caused all this death and destruction, and for this vanity of the world's tallest building, and it didn't even make it through its commencement night, its dedication night.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this movie is it's the grand opening of the glass tower, and oh my God,
it's a cool looking building.
And I'm guessing the way it seems like is that his Steve McQueen's character is like the leading architect on the planet.
You mean Paul Newman?
Paul Newman, I'm sorry. Yeah. Paul Newman, yes. Is like the head architect and everybody loves him, and him and his wife are going to.
He's got an office right there in the building. Yeah,
he's ready to just give it all up. He's going to move out to the country, Utah, and just live, off the land or whatever. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. The wife is going to, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm getting offered a big job, and he's like, really, right now. Enter Steve McQueen whenever the party comes in. There's electrical failure. They're getting signals all over the place, but they can't pinpoint it because there's multiple shocks going off and wires exploding because of the drag on the wire system. The guy didn't use the right wire code.
Yeah.
And they keep telling Paul Newman, well, we used code. And the guy's like, code wasn't good enough for this. That's why I did it this other way. If you'd have followed it, the building wouldn't be on fire, kind of thing. And I like when Steve McQueen comes in and is talking to the main architect, that William Holden's character,
the owner,
and he says, "Yeah, you got to get these people out of this party." He's like, "Well, the mayor's over there. I'm just going to have to step over your head." And he shoots this guy down. He goes, "Yeah, when there's a fire, I'm in charge and nobody outranks me." Yeah. And the guy just looks at him like, "What?"
Goes, they still really didn't listen to it. If they would have just listened right off the bat. But that brings me to this wonderful scene where Paul Newman or Steve McQueen, one of them is saying, "Don't get on this elevator. It could stop where the fire is." And everybody rushed on it. And guess what? It opened up and they all baked. And it was just glorious as they're screaming. It's like, you fucking idiots.
Oh, the fire just shot right into there too, man. How horrible would that be?
Well, you should have listened.
Yeah, you should have listened. Don't rush. Don't rush. And if the cement wouldn't have been holding the door down, the back door, they all
what's up with that? Yeah, what's up with that? Why was there a wheelbarrow on the 100th and something floor with cement that just been knocked over? It was too convenient. I'm just saying.
It was a convenient bad idea.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to see how they're trying to work their way up this massive skyscraper to put out this fire that Steve McQueen's already told the guy, I can't put anything out past the 7th floor. There's no way. Yeah. You guys keep building these massive structures and we can't do anything if a fire gets so high.
Yep.
All there is to it. And, that's, And the miniatures. Let's talk about the miniatures in this.
Oh, dude, they were glorious.
Fantastic were those. How great were the matte paintings? Some of the things
Yes.
I didn't realize were matte paintings until I
Mm-hmm.
watched the extras. And I thought, okay, they have a miniature and they somehow superimposed it, but that's the one shot of the building from above is actually a matte painting. And
Oh,
I was like,
damn.
holy crap, that's really good. Like
Yeah.
you don't see it. The one miniature, I guess, of the tower was 70. I think they said 70
It's
feet.
70 feet. That's
I want to say
insane.
70 feet. I hope I didn't mishear it because that just seems massive. But
Yeah.
that's where they were lighting off all the explosions and stuff.
I could
And
see them doing something that big. I mean, that's a big
yeah,
building to build, but
that's a kick-ass
yeah.
looking building too.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool. And it makes me think of buildings like the Burj Khalifa in the UA that's like
Right.
super fucking tall. It's like, oh my God, what if they get a fire? You
Yeah.
know? But if Vin Diesel can drive a car from building to building over there, then I guess they're all right.
Should be okay. Yeah. He'll just keep going back and forth.
Yeah. I am a glutton for the Fast and Furious movies. I love them to
I've
death.
never seen one
They
of
are
them.
absolutely, I'm sorry, they're horrible, but I love them. I
Yeah.
love them so much. It's all about family. It's all, they're good. Honestly, I recommend that series to anybody. I fucking love them. Number 3, Tokyo Drift is my favorite. Don't shoot
Really?
me. Yeah. They're great. They're great. They're stupid. They're absolutely stupid and they're wonderful. Anyway, moving on to the Towering Inferno.
Irwin Allen got the rights whenever he did this. The movie was made for about $11 million.
Oh, wow.
That's with all the actors.
That's big at them.
That's with all those big name actors.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having that many big names in a movie now.
Oh, you're hundreds of millions.
Just to start. That's before you shoot 1 inch of film.
Yeah, you just paid for the cast.
Yeah. The
one I work cheaper. I'm just saying, I work cheaper.
The one thing I thought was funny is Steve McQueen, when he was reading the script, one of his stipulations was Paul Newman wasn't allowed to have any more lines than him. They had to have the same number of lines. And I was like,
he didn't want to be overshadowed.
What a fucking diva, man. How crazy is that? And he wanted, like, the one thing that he insisted on was like that thing at the end when he's telling him, you guys are just building these skyscrapers so high and blah, blah, blah. And he insisted on this rewrite. And the guy's like, what? Fine, I'll do it. And he gives him the rewrite and hands it to him. And he reads it and he's watching the dailies and he's like, man, you got to do something. And the guy's like, what? Dude, I gave you exactly what you wanted. He's like, yeah, I'm reading all these, I'm doing all these lines and doing all these lines. And there's fucking Paul Newman with his big blue eyes just looking up at me, stealing my scene. Because you got to give him some lines.
So that scene works well. That's a good scene.
But I just thought it was funny, like you realize that, oh shit, all you're getting is reaction from Paul Newman.
I didn't know that, and I'm going to throw out another goddamn Fast and Furious reference. That was one of the things I read about with Vin Diesel and some of the others is if they had a fight scene, there was something with the about number of punches. They could not take more hits than they delivered, and they had to always come out on top. It's like, Jesus Christ. That's why when I was reading about the whole Dwayne Johnson and him, why they were going at each other, because he's like, you're such a fucking diva.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
wow.
Yeah. No it's like, come on.
Well,
go figure. Whatever. They're both probably very strong personalities.
Yeah, probably. Both want to be the lead dog, and I wouldn't follow either one of them into the desert.
No. And I wouldn't piss either one of them off. So.
Yeah, no, you don't want to piss them off. But if it comes to surviving in the wilderness and having one of those two morons follow me or lead me, I'd be like, no, you guys go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I kind of know how to build my own fire. You guys go be pretty in the woods. I'm going to go
pay for a fire.
I'm going to go hunting. I'm going to go catch a couple of rabbits and shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. But that's one of the things I find that's a neat scene. And he's right. I mean, damn. Paul fucking Newman. I mean, what do you got to say?
And if you watch that scene close, especially at the end, folks, I think what happened is they probably did it on a pickup. They probably wound up going back and reshooting Paul Newman's lines.
Hmm.
Something just tells me that it wasn't all in one shot. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like he was like, you have to do something. So when Paul Newman says what he's got to say to him, because that almost looks like an afterthought kind of thing.
Right.
So that was a good scene. There's so many, there's so much good stuff going on in here. You kind of miss a lot because it is such
Yeah.
a long movie, like you said. Um, all
There's a
the
lot
fire,
here.
all the fire is real. All the stunts are real. Everything's in camera. All the shots are in camera. Even the explosions on the building, though not an actual building, is a really big freaking model. It is a
Yeah.
really big replica. And you had to have that crap blown up. You have to take the time to redo it if you don't get it on the first shot. So yeah, man, I can't
Well,
imagine.
here's the thing with this. I'm watching this and I'm always reminded when I watch stuff and I see practical effects. While I can tell I'm looking at miniatures just because of
Uh,
the way the matte paintings and things just kind of are a little
yeah,
striking. It still to me looks better than CGI.
yeah,
Now I
yeah, I
say
think
that you
so.
can watch the CGI movie now, one that's out now, and it looks absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
But guess what? 20 years ago when we watched CGI in a movie, it looked absolutely phenomenal. It doesn't now.
Right.
So, but the
It-
models, the miniatures, the stop motion animation is timeless. It
yeah,
always works. Yes, I know I'm looking at something fake, but my brain will eventually just dismiss it and it's
yeah.
good.
It just fills it in. It's like watching a Harryhausen movie with the centaurs,
Yes.
and minotaurs, and this and that. You're looking at it, and you're like, I know that's not real. I know how they did it. I know that the magic behind that moment, but that moment works really
Dude, those
well.
skeletons that came out of the fire on Sinbad were
The best.
absolutely amazing.
Those are the best. That
That was
whole
the best
scene.
Harryhausen I've seen. It's like,
Anytime
oh shit.
Harryhausen used skeletons to fight
Oh,
the
they were
sword
great.
fight and shit, they were great.
They were absolutely great. So, to roll back, this is a
Okay.
great 70s disaster film. Man, there's tons of action in this. The stunts,
Yeah.
the this is worth it just to watch. It's exciting, and I think I texted you. It's like, man, I want to watch Backdraft now because
Yeah.
this
Right.
at the very beginning of this movie, there's a dedication to all the firefighters, current
Mhm.
and past, and I thought that was
Right.
really really cool. And great to recognize, and it made me think of firefighting movies. And the first one that came to mind was Backdraft. And it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's another good one.
Yeah.
But which probably took a lot of inspiration from this movie.
I could see that because there was a lot of backdraft moments, like when the guy
Yes,
opens up the door and his friend
yes,
tackles him, and that
yep,
flame just rolls over top of him. I mean, that's all. That's real. That's
yeah,
happening as they're filming it. I mean,
which is
granted, the
amazing.
guy's in a fire suit and all that, but
Right.
still, I mean,
Still dangerous. Every bit of
still
that
one
was
of the most
dangerous.
dangerous stunts you can do. And
Yeah.
that's amazing that they did it so many times. I didn't even bother counting, but I know I've counted there's at least four that I know of. That one,
Yeah.
the one with Robert Wagner's character, the one where the chick falls out the window, and then I thought there was another one. I know
Robert
there's,
Wagner didn't even make it halfway through his damn room. It's like,
well,
dude, move a little faster.
yeah, I don't even know what to tell you at that point, Rob. I mean,
It's
why?
like, why are you stumbling around? Oh, look, you're now on fire. Oh, you're dead.
Oh, that guy. What I'm still trying to figure out what his point of his character was,
It was
other than
just,
to die,
yeah,
because that was his mistress. That wasn't his wife.
yeah.
But I never figured out who his wife was supposed to be. Like, were we supposed to know his wife? Did I miss? Did I
I
miss
don't
this
know.
one little bit of a clue of who this guy was?
And that's why it
It
was
was things
just,
like that.
let's have another name. That's why it was just to me,
Yeah.
just let's have another name. And like I said, it's too many people,
Number two.
but it's needed. It's needed to give us some
Yeah.
empathy and feeling. That's why we saw the kids. That's why we saw
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cat. That's why we saw the people on dates and and I get what they were
Mhm.
trying to do. I absolutely get it. I just felt it was too much.
Yeah. Well, the way they stretch it out in the beginning is he's building a lot of character. He's
Yes.
letting you
And
know
it's
who these people
necessary.
are and why. And I honestly didn't think the kids were in the building. I thought they were just there for day school or something. I thought the
Yeah.
mom worked in the building, came to pick them up, and was going home. I guess that's more of a modern thing now. I don't know. Where they have like the child daycares in house. Uh, I don't know. Did any companies do that back then? I couldn't tell you.
Probably.
But I
With
thought the kids had left. And then all of a sudden, the guy's like, well, she's deaf. She can't hear you if you're pounding on the door. And I'm like, huh? What? That lady lives there? What hell kind of job does she have that she can afford that fucking apartment?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And two
That
kids and
was
no husband back then. Jesus.
yeah.
He's making some bank. I don't know what the hell she's
Yeah,
doing.
definitely. Definitely. So
Um,
do you have anything else to add about the
uh,
movie?
I was just a little depressed that O.J. Simpson didn't buy it. His character didn't buy it in
Yeah, I
this
would have loved
movie.
to have seen that. Full disclosure, if I'd have seen this in the 70s, it wouldn't have bothered me. But knowing what we know about OJ now, yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
see the motherfucker burn.
Yeah, and yeah, you just want to see him like taken out by a fireball. The
Yeah,
character.
a
Uh,
hammer, a crowbar, a car, an ambulance, a white Bronco. Uh, so,
anyway,
yeah,
but yeah, so many actors. I'm just dumbfounded. And
yeah,
Owen Allen just stuck to his guns, man. Just stuck to his guns. He's also the producer of the next movie that we're going to watch, The Poseidon Adventure.
yes, I cannot wait.
And
Another star-filled
yeah,
extravaganza.
and it's another Silifant wrote this one too. I think he wrote the
Ah,
Poseidon Adventure. I think is what they were saying last night on some of the stuff.
yeah, I can't
Uh,
wait to watch this one.
You got to watch the extras if you get a chance. Just some of the stories these people are telling,
Yeah,
and they just look all happy. They all loved Irwin Allen. They all loved the
that's
actors
great.
that they were acting with, like Paul Newman and the Queen. And it was just like, how do you? Because none of it is all the stuff that I just assumed or maybe read somewhere once when I was a kid. Like they were like everything that I always knew about Paul Newman and Steve McQueen is they didn't like each other. They didn't get along. They
Really?
didn't want to be around each other. But it turns out McQueen did show up in a bit part in one of Paul Newman's movies years ago, like years before this. And then when they did this movie, they got along great. Like
They
they
got
look
good
like when you
chemistry.
see the little bits of outtakes, they look
Hmm.
like they're little kids, like 12-year-old kids getting along, fine.
Well, dude, when I saw them just on screen together in those final
Yeah,
scenes, when they were working together, it's like, I
yeah,
need a buddy cop movie with Steve McQueen and Paul Newman.
right. How great would that have been?
That'd have been
That would
great.
have been freaking
Or a Western
fantastic.
or
Yeah,
something, you know?
yeah. Instead, they put Robert Redford in it with him. I don't know. It's still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's a good movie. Um, what else? I was going to say something. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, while you're thinking about it, I will give my final
Right.
thoughts on this. I'm loving going back into the 70s and watching these movies I saw as a wee lad
Yeah,
on the
right.
screen, and it's pretty fucking awesome. It's neat to see just what they were able to create with what they had. They could not rely on CGI
No,
as much as they do now.
at
Um,
all. They didn't have computer generated anything back then.
no, not to the level they had animation that they could
Yeah, they could have used
superimpose and
animation.
stuff.
Yeah,
But it just didn't hold, and miniatures to me always work. The effects are great. The acting is top fucking notch in this. It kept me interested the entire 2 hours and 44 minutes,
right.
with no problem. I do have to say, I started to chuckle when I started the movie and it's a helicopter sequence. And I'm like, I saw this once, Night of a Thousand Cats, and I wanted to turn that helicopter sequence off. This helicopter sequence was just
No,
fine.
no. Just
Go
came in,
figure.
landed, got out, started
Yeah,
talking.
because
That
it didn't look
elevator.
like, oh, yeah.
Oh, that hideous elevator.
That
Oh,
was
on the
glorious,
inside.
man. I love
Oh,
it. I love seeing the 70s
that,
decor and everything. It's like,
oh,
oh man, this is beautiful. I
that
loved every bit of
hurt.
that.
That elevator did
Yeah,
hurt. I'd be like,
it did hurt.
Partridge Family slash Brady Bunch all at once. I can't take it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. That's all I have to say. I do recommend watching it. I recommend watching all the 70s disaster films.
Yeah,
This is a good one, man. It's intense. It's scary. If you get in a big building and you're in an elevator, especially one of those glass ones that go up the outside. I will never get in one without thinking of the Towering Inferno. Just saying.
this is horrible. One of the times me and the old lady went to the Empire State Building,
Yeah.
we're going up the elevator. I'm such an asshole.
You?
This elevator is packed like a fucking sardine can.
Oh
I'm
no.
in the back. I looked over at the other. I said, "It'd be really horrible if this wire snapped and we all plunged to our death." And you could just see 50
It would be.
people, or however many are in that damn elevator, just all turn and look at me. And I'm like, what? Like none of you have thought about it?
Think about it every time. I know they have braking systems. I'm going to be all right, but
Yeah,
it's still the thought.
I feel like they got braking systems.
It's still the thought.
My old lady's looking at me like, you're such an asshole. Like,
well,
what?
I have to tell you, my wife tells me a story about when she was in high school when they went to a beta club trip to Atlanta, and they were on the outside of a building in one of those glass elevators, and it was at night, and the elevator stopped suddenly and all the power went off. What she didn't realize was it was so you could see the city.
Oh,
she said everybody started screaming like it was like they're all going to die. So that's what she thinks of watching this movie, which I thought was very funny.
Thanks for telling us that that's why you're stopping the elevator and turning off the power.
Yeah, exactly. So your final thoughts on the Towering Inferno glass tower?
I think you got to watch it. I mean, watch it for the stunts. Watch it for the in-camera effects.
Oh, dude.
The story's actually very good. It's still even today. I mean, I'd sit there and
works.
These buildings today, and I'm like, why? I don't know if I'd want to live on the 100th floor. Yeah, nice view. What if there's a fire? You know, not going unless I got a parachute and I can, MacGyver it out that window.
Exactly. I need a hang glider. I need a ramp.
With those little backpack where you hit the button and the wings come out.
I'm Batman, damn it.
You bat-wing it down to the freaking surface.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
You'll live. But I don't know. It's a good story, and
it is.
It all really starts making sense as soon as you figure out who screwed the pooch on the electricals, and then you come to find out that his partner or the guy who built it was doing basically the same kind of shit somewhere else along the lines. You don't know what he exactly, cut corners on, but couldn't have been good because that water system wasn't going off like it's supposed to.
And this happens. This happens, and that's what's scary. It's like, my God, don't cut corners when it comes to safety. I'm just saying.
When it comes to saving people's lives, don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Go live, and that's what was so cool about the final scene with Steve McQueen and Paul Newman. He's like, maybe someday some architect will ask me or whatever, and Paul Newman's like, yeah, I'm asking, and Steve McQueen's like, you know where I'm at. Yeah. So you see that there's a continuation. It's like, okay, he gets it. Because I'm sure that's not something he was thinking about. He was thinking about safety. He wanted to put everything there, but he obviously never talked to a firefighter.
Well, like you said, had everything actually stayed in place, had they not cut all the corners, that would have never happened. The initial fire would never have happened.
The fire started because they turned every fucking light on and it couldn't handle it.
All at once. Yeah.
And that was because they cut corners on the wires.
Not a good idea. And I like whenever he's telling the guys, shut down the power. And they're like, but we got all the lights on. I told you to shut the goddamn power off. Come there, kick you in the balls.
I know.
Turn off the power. Turn off the power. Bob's mad.
Yeah.
Balls again. Turn off the power.
So, Old Ass Movie Review says, definitely watch The Towering Inferno.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And I have a feeling we're going to say the same thing about our next feature, The Poseidon Adventure.
It's been a long time since I've seen Poseidon Adventure, but the same writer, the same producer.
It's going to be a good one.
I'm not sure about the director. I don't know who directed this, but
it'll be a good one.
Irwin Allen's going to have some action.
Yeah.
We're going to have to see if we can find Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Sounds like a plan. So make sure you tune in next week when we take a cruise. A star-studded cruise. So we will catch you then.
Flip the script.
Yes, we do. Be safe, stay fire-free, and take a swim with us next week.
Cheers.
Later.